Welcome to Revolution Against Evolution. I'm your host, Doug Sharp.
Your co-host, Rich Carrier, and today we're going to talk about a subject that's out of this world, eh, Doug?
Yes, some wacky facts about the solar system and some of the different things that we find in the solar system that are really unusual, and how they relate to our subject about creation and evolution. Because the evolutionists have a theory about the formation of the solar system from a gas cloud that's sort of like a donut. You know, you've seen these theories of all these different objects in the solar system crashing, sort of clumping together and forming the planets.
Gravitational things causing it to coalesce and suddenly become planets or asteroids or moons or whatever. But some of the stuff that we see out there, Doug, seems to be at variance with their theories, though, wouldn't you say?
And we're going to sort of focus on some of the more strange objects in the solar system, especially the ones that have been discovered recently or in the past few years. That with these Hubble telescopes and with these satellite probes going out, we're learning and seeing all kinds of neat stuff, and stuff that almost would appear sort of anomalous to what you'd expect to see sometimes. But even if it's not, it's just cool stuff to get close-up pictures of some of these things. And what's the first thing you want to kind of delve into, Doug? Well, we understand now that there's been discovered a lot of moons around some of the minor planets.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
You know, like the asteroids and things like that. And if you look on Wikipedia, it talks about them. You know, the minor planet moons. Like one of the first ones that they discovered was a asteroid called Ida. And it's got a little moon next to it they call Dactyl.
Dactyl, yep.
Ida-dactyl.
I know, Ida-dactyl. Yeah, but Ida's like not really round like a planet would be expected to. It's kind of a weird, funky shape, but the moon is round. It's kind of roundish looking, at least in the picture I'm seeing here. And it's kind of fascinating to see, and it rotates around this asteroid then. Right, and more of this, or what they call a small. What do they call? They don't call it a minor
planetoid,
a planetoid, or
And so there's apparently a lot of these different things, and it says there are over 290 minor planets known to have moons.
That is amazing, and some of them, Doug, don't just have one moon. They've been finding several with
triple systems.
Yeah, they have binaries and triples. That's quite fascinating, though, that how would moons rotate around? I mean, it boggles the mind, Doug, to think how this kind of stuff would happen based on naturalistic scenarios of gas clouds coalescing, you know?
Yeah, we sort of figure that the asteroids are these this whole cloud of planetoids that just a dense cloud of these things, but that's really not the case.
No.
Asteroids are really quite far apart, and so to actually have a situation where one will capture another one is pretty rare or unlikely situation. Now,
we're not saying it couldn't happen, but that it's the explanation for most of it, or if not all of it, it stretches credibility quite a leap.
And if you look at the physics of it, a planetoid that's trying to, they approach each other, and the gravity of one is larger than the other one, then the other one will sort of make a parabola or a hyperbola around it. But it will exit in a little bit different direction than the way it came in. And so unless there's something to slow it down, it can't really go into orbit. And so you have to actually have three bodies involved in order to get the capture so it actually orbits around the other minor planet. And so since the minor planet is usually not big enough to really have much of a gravitational field, then it's very unlikely to have this little thing where they
the idea of a planet capturing a moon, it's at least plausible under certain, theories and stuff. But when you look at the stuff, especially these little ones, Doug, how would they capture it? I mean, it would seem like if it's coming in, with a straight. I mean, it would have to be. How would it capture it, Doug? I don't even understand how it could ever do it. It would seem like it would come in there and launch. It would just maybe carry them off it a little bit and then go on its merry little way, maybe slightly
that's
different direction.
basically the problem, and unless you have a third body slowing it down.
Yeah, but how many of these do we have third bodies around? But I mean, there are triplets.
Right.
There are triples. Maybe that you could say that could be one. We've found, what do they got, 6 or 7 of those now? Maybe a few more. I'm not sure. They got theories of more, but there's 6 or 7 of them. I think they've actually seen what the Neptune Objects and the near Earth object. They got all these terms, and I'm trying to figure out what they all are as far as where they're at, where the asteroids are at, where these little mini moons are at. But Doug, by and large, most of these asteroids have maybe one moon that have moons or small attachments. So where's the third body to capture it?
Well, it would have to been some distance away in order for it to work, and so it goes by one object, and then it goes for a little while, and then it
gets caught by another one.
It gets caught by the other one, and
is that reasonable? Do you think? You think that's good?
It's still a problem because it isn't enough to explain why it's orbiting around it. It's like when we had the lunar lander go into orbit, they have to actually calculate when to slow it down so it hits this little window of opportunity where it's sort of like going around it rather than going by it.
Right.
And so it's sort of a narrow window of opportunity for it to actually work.
In other words, based on what you're saying, we'd expect to find very few, if any, orbiting moons around some of these bodies, and instead we're finding quite a few.
And what this really indicates is that either the bodies that are orbiting it were actually part of its original creation, or it broke off somehow and became. It's more likely that it's a piece of the original body itself.
Okay, all right.
There's another one here. It's what is the name of it? Polkova. Yeah. And it has a satellite, and they're pretty near each other. And so you can see that they found that in the year 2000. Galileo probe found Ida and Dactyl on its mission.
But see, the second one you're talking about looks more round, like you'd expect a larger body and then a smaller moon. That Dactyl and Ida is weird because that Ida is really a funky shaped
it looks like a potato. So
kind of or a yam or something. Big long. Yeah, it's just really, and it's got something that. I mean, how does the moon does it rotate around in a circle, Doug, or it must? I mean, how does it work?
Well, obviously it would be a funky orbit because of the irregular shape of the asteroid itself.
So Doug, we got 290 of these they discovered so far.
Right.
And where are the places that they're discovered at? There's certain they have near Earth objects, they call them. They got the asteroid belts. Go ahead and talk a little bit about
the majority of the asteroids are between Jupiter and Mars.
Okay.
But there are some that are actually between Mars and the Earth, and some that actually pass close by the Earth, and so I think those are the ones that the NASA sort of keeps track of and worries about.
Do you think in the past perhaps we have some craters that seems to be asteroid or small or meteorite bodies that have hit the Earth in the past? The one in the Yucatan forest, or what's that one that there's never a big? Was that where it is? Someplace in Russia there was supposedly a big meteor that hit. Where's that at?
That was in Russia. That was in 1908. I think
I was saying 1910.
I can't pronounce the name of it, but but it really made quite a racket, I guess. Well, there's a meteor crater in Arizona.
Okay, I knew there was one that we had seen. What's the name of that one, Doug?
It's the meteor crater.
It's called the meteor crater? That's it? Anyway, we have not avoided... but the thing is, we are very lucky because, like the moon has got all kinds of craters and things like that, and the Earth has relatively few. You know, and sometimes I wonder if the moon is like a defense mechanism the Lord put out there to protect us from some of this stuff hitting us. You know?
Yeah, if you look on the backside of the moon, you know, there's a pretty good-sized impact crater on that side of the moon, the one that's hidden from us. Now, the fact that we always see one side of the moon, that's another interesting feature that's hard to explain. They have some theories about it that it attracts that one thing, and so the orbit
is it one of the things because of the it's why we can actually see a solar eclipse,
right?
Because of the distance and the ratio of the moon to the sun, how far away it is that it can actually happen like that. It's really there's a really lot of cool stuff like that. I mean, we've talked over, a lot of people have made mention over the years that, you know, if we were like 1 degree closer or 1% closer to the sun, we'd be roasted. 1 degree farther away, we'd be frozen, and everything is like in like this perfect sync.
Precision of conditions that are needed for life on the Earth are really beyond explanation, you know, from natural mechanisms. We have a creator who made us, made us for a purpose, and he put in us his design, and to deny that, it's if you don't want God in your life, you have to come up with some sort of mechanism to explain it away.
Again, Doug, can you remember the quote by the guy who said, no matter how ridiculous the premise is or foolish or whatever it is, we have to accept it? Because I'm paraphrasing, obviously, because we can't allow a supernatural foot in the door. I'm trying to think. Who was the guy that was that? Who was the guy that? Do you remember the guy that quoted that?
I think it was Lee Wanton or something like that.
Lee Wanton. Okay. I can't remember.
But anyway, there is those features in the moon that really are beyond. They defy explanation, except for a creator God.
Well, and the
solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse are all in proportion, so that it exactly covers the
See, the thing is, though, Doug, you know, you might find an explanation for one point or another point, but when you get the preponderance of weird, anomalous, strange, coincidental things that just seem to be all this particular way, you know, it's no wonder that atheists have to appeal to the multi-universe theory. That basically we happen to be the one universe that got it right out of the hundreds of billions, or that they're all out there, although no one's ever seen any of these. They're just, they have to postulate, because how do we get it all right? If you got to get rid of a God, you have to come up with some ridiculous premise that, you know, that of how all this would have happened. The preponderance of all these things, Doug, it's like one thing you might be able to explain and maybe reasonable, two things, but it's over and over and over and over again, Doug, where they have to keep coming up with these weird ad hoc explanations, these coincidences, these after the fact things. And I think these meteorite moon things, I think it's going to cause even more problems when you really start thinking about all the stuff that's going on. I mean, it's amazing, Doug, since the year 2000. Before that time, you had to do it by eye. You had to kind of do a satellite, you know, by telescope, and you couldn't really do a lot. You could do some things, but a lot of it was done with speculation. Maybe they could see some wobble, and they could postulate. But now with these probes, we're actually seeing these things out there, and a lot of the things they predicted were going to happen are out there, but they haven't predicted why or explained why this kind of a scenario would actually happen.
Well, let's talk about the trans-Neptune objects.
All right, let's do.
TNOs
for short.
Which of the most famous one is Pluto. And its moon Charon, which had a flyby with the New Horizons space probe that went out there. And I guess one of the things they've discovered is that there's some cryogenic volcanoes on Pluto.
Yeah.
And so it's erupting these ice volcanoes, or whatever they are. And
is the volcano made out of ice, or is it erupting ice, or what?
Well, I think the latest that we understand now is that there is ice on Pluto, as well as solid other types of things like methane, but these activities that are taking place that they can observe on Pluto are really amazing to that they actually can view these, and they really indicate that Pluto is relatively young in terms of its age. And so this
because
is
of volcanic activity? Is that what it is?
Because of the volcanic activity.
Okay. You shouldn't have that if it's as ancient as supposedly it is, you know, as their scenarios. Okay.
And some of the moons, like the moons of Uranus, Miranda, for example, is a real good example of this, that it's so highly faulted and cratered.
Yeah.
It looks like it was taken apart and put back together. Mismatched pieces, you know.
Wow.
And the Miranda's the checkmark moon because it's got a canyon that's so visible on it that it looks like it's got a big check mark. And of course, Pluto is known for its Valentine spot. It's a heart-shaped spot on the...
And what is that? Do they know?
Well, it's mostly ice, and there was even, it looked like some people were saying, it looked like there's such patterns on it, they thought they were even cities on it. Or something.
I know, I read something, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I looked at it closely, and I said, I'm not really buying the city thing.
No,
but,
no.
You know, all your X-File fanatics out there, which I actually like to show myself, even though I don't really believe in outer space aliens. It did. You guys like, well, what are these weird structures they like that? Didn't you talk about there was a moon or was something? It's like one's so hit with meteorites and it's like all smashed up and everything, and the other one virtually has nothing on it.
You're talking about the Galilean moons. So
okay. Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Callisto is the one that's so heavily cratered. You got craters on top of craters. And yet Europa is smooth, and it looks like the surface is hardly cratered at all. Then you have Io, which is the pizza moon that's got all these volcanoes on it. Some of the biggest volcanoes in the known universe.
So you have three different moons, and they have three different...
Four moons.
Yeah, they all have like almost entirely different attributes to them. And
Ganymede is the one with the crazy falls. It looks like somebody's painted across.
Yeah, that was great. And see, these are things. Sometimes I feel like we have a God who's a creator, who's creative. You know, as a person who's an artist himself, I love to see that different. That just God is not to say he's quixotic, but he's like he just says he wants to do things. He wants to experiment with this and let this happen and do this and just let us go and discover it and just be amazed at his handiwork and the things he's done, because it makes you know, because Doug, you think if the world was just a random place, you'd think there could be some differences, but 4 different moons and they're all so completely different.
Yeah, I can see God creating Enceladus, the moon around Saturn, and saying, let them try and explain this one, you know, because it's got this huge geyser coming out of the South Pole. We're not sure what it's spewing out, but it's really painting some of the other moons that are going by.
Really?
This huge geyser, and obviously, if something's millions or billions of years old, it's not going to continuously have this. No,
the heat should have dissipated at least by that.
That's right.
I think it's. I mean, obviously, geysers are generally, as far as I know, always there's heat involved in them erupting like that, like volcanoes as well. You know, say they with these ancient planets and moons, the ones that have volcanoes erupting, those should not be happening because these planets are supposedly, you know, billions of years old, and that by this time they should have totally cooled down based on that scenario. So how do they explain that, Doug? Are there explanations they're given for this kind of stuff, or are they just
I think what's happening is that there's so much of this data coming by.
They can't even process it all.
They haven't. They just throw up their hands and say, "Well, there's something else we got to figure out." You know? And each time they examine some of these photos that they get back from these bodies of planetary material, they take a look at it and say, something new here.
What's up with this?
Yeah. And if you take their evolutionary scenario where you have everything in this gas cloud rotating, in this disk like a donut.
Yeah,
and you have it all colliding together.
I've seen those pictures.
And you're going to, the theory is that everything's going to spin mostly the same way.
Oh yeah.
And the momentum of it is all going to carry it in this general direction. But that's not what you find. You got the planet Uranus sort of tilted on its axis with a pole pointed towards the sun.
Right.
And you actually have the magnetic field a little bit cockeyed from that, and you have the moons rotating around in the planet in line with the axis of your Uranus.
The poles, I mean.
The poles, yeah.
Okay.
And so here
so
you got these things.
it's going like this rather than like this, right? Now, is Uranus going around like the other planets, or is it kind of going in a weird elliptical or a weird orbit?
All the planets have an elliptical orbit, but it's mostly on the same plane.
Yeah,
but the exception to that is Pluto. Pluto is a little bit tilted from the plane axis. And so, then you have, let me see, the other trans-Neptune objects that they found is called, there's one called Eris, another one's called Sedna, S-E-D-N-A.
Yeah. Where do they come up with these names? Charon I know, but I mean, some of these names...
Eris and Sedna, I think, are still from mythological.
It must be, it sounds like something.
And then there's Maki, or Make, or whatever they call it, which is from one of the deities on Easter Island.
Oh, that's right. You were talking about that before. Yeah.
And so the latest thing that's come out is now there's this new planet that they think that they've discovered as a result of what they find with the orbits of these trans-Neptune objects.
Okay.
And I'm really trying to visualize how they can know what these orbits are doing based upon this planet that's way out there.
Okay. So, now where is this? I didn't know that. I had not heard about this. A 10th planet?
A ninth planet, if you don't count Pluto.
Pluto's been downgraded to a dwarf planet.
But this is supposed to be like 10 times the size of Earth.
Really? And it's rotating around our sun?
It's rotating about our sun, but it's supposed to be way out there.
Wow.
And so, they can't really see it. And I looked this up on Answers in Genesis, and they said that since we can't see it, we've got an argument from silence. It's
why do they think it's out there? Is there some kind of gravitational thing or something?
They're looking at the orbits of these trans-Neptune objects and trying to figure out why they're a little bit goofy from what their predictions are.
Right.
So they figure out, well, this planet out here someplace is
influencing
the orbits.
Okay. All right.
And so to really figure out where they're coming from this, we have to understand all the mathematical equations behind.
I don't even know if they do understand. So, Doug, let me ask you this in a nutshell. A couple of minutes we got left remaining. What are the biggest challenges to the evolutionary scenario, or even the creationist scenario, about what we're seeing, or is it just kind of interesting facts? I mean, are there things that really stand out in our mind? Like, we've been finding a lot of neat stuff, that have really been helping us out. I mean, from the dinosaurs, the
relative youth of these these things are really indications that the millions or billions of years that they attribute to them, it's really more in line with what a biblical creation date might give us than it would be if it was so long ago. The heat dissipation, the decays of the magnetic fields, different things that fit a prediction of a young young Earth model, young solar system.
Well, and we
model.
know that from years we've talked about this. Is the Hubble telescope is basically the scenario they used to. I remember reading this, and you never see it anymore. But 20 years ago or 30 years ago, it was like the universe was 20 to 30 billion years old, based on light from the stars. And then the Hubble goes, you end up having a universe that's older than the stars, or something that was almost backward from what it. So they had to downgrade the age of the universe to 12.6 or 12.5 billion years old, as opposed to, or the solar system, maybe the solar system I'm thinking of, instead of the 20 to 30. Cause
you're thinking the universe. And
it is a universe, okay, yeah.
But and so since this is about the solar system, that's not part of.
I know, but I'm just saying it adds other things about you. No, I mean it relates to outer space. To me, it's all outer space, man.
Yeah,
you know?
outer space.
You know, it's all out there. It's the whole thing. The cosmological or cosmological evolution is what they want to call it. And, you know, that starts out with, obviously, with the Big Bang. Yeah, our solar system is much more close to home, but even there, it's pretty far out. You know, I mean, still haven't figured out. They like the Oort cloud that's supposedly out there. That's not. They haven't found that, have they?
They haven't found and they're supposedly finding the objects in the Kuiper Belt, which are the ones that we mentioned here.
Right.
But the question is whether that really indicates that that's the origin of these comets, you know.
Okay, yeah.
But comets have these elongated orbits that are very angular, elliptical, which indicate that and they don't last that long, you know.
They're just a ball of ice, you know, basically a head of ice or whatever, and yet we still see them out there. They can't be that old, so they have to postulate them reforming all the time. So they got to have a source for it, and they haven't found that source, but they postulated it for years. So anyway, no, I just thought you throw a few things in the mix. It's kind of funny. I know we're talking basically the solar system, but I'm not so locked in as he is. You know, I like to go out.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our tour of the solar system and its wacky objects. We'll see you next time on Revolution Against Evolution.